Okay, it's rap pack to my pulse flat. We keep it real, no false rap. I got 4 cars and they all black. Got 4 bras and they all that. We call that ballin'. Doing this is my calling. Flow is so appalling. My phone off and she calling. I'm like, yeah.
What's going on, guys, and welcome back to Nth-Level Entertainment, the most awesome series, comic book, and movie-related YouTube channel in South Africa. I am your host, ZV Entertainer, and today I'm going to be reviewing Bright. So this is quite an interesting and unique film. It was released exclusively on Netflix. The budget apparently for it was just over 90 million. It stars Will Smith as the character of Jared Ward, and also Joel Edgerton as Nick Jacoby. Now, excuse me. So this essentially is a buddy cop film, right? Which is set in the present day Los Angeles. But now the thing that is very mind-blowing and unique about it is that it includes characters from Lord of the Rings stories and other characters from sort of like generic fairy tale lore. You know, we have orcs, for example, you know, straight out of Lord of the Rings. We have elves, straight out of the Lord of the Rings. We have fairies. We even have centaurs that are, like, you know, we see a centaur who's actually a police officer in this film. So the film is directed by David Ayers. We know him from films like The Fifth Element, Training Day, Suicide Squad, just to mention a few. And it was written by Max Landis, whose previous works include The Death and Return of Superman, which is a Superman story that's set outside of the main continuity of the actual Death of Superman story from the 90s. Excuse me, guys, I'm a bit fluid today. So, as I said, this movie takes place in present day, and it actually includes a lot of the elements from some of the films that David Ayers directed previously. It's a buddy cop film, so that's very similar to what Training Day was like. Will Smith plays the main character, and his partner is an orc, played by Joel Edgerton in this instance. Now, orcs in the universe that's actually set in this movie are actually very discriminated upon. They are looked at like the lowest class of citizen you can actually be. You know, it's very much like how you would have expected maybe either minorities like black people in apartheid, for example. For those of you who know your South African history. So orcs are very discriminated upon. You know, hate crimes are constantly committed against them. And then we also have elves in this film who are looked at sort of like the upper echelon of society. They're sort of, you know, like the kind of rich people you would expect in the Upper East Side, for example. They're very sort of arrogant, stoic, and regal in how they carry themselves. And they're very wealthy. They sort of live, you know, above the rules that everybody else has to live by. So the story is centered around the discovery of a magic wand that has gone missing, that is now sought after. And Will Smith's department in the police precinct is tasked to actually handle the recovery of this magic wand. Now, his partner, Nick, who is an orc, is very much, you know, experiences a lot of prejudice from the rest of the police unit and society in general by virtue of the fact that he's an orc. And this obviously causes a lot of, you know, difficulty for Will Smith's character, who himself is a human being who agrees with every other human being's sentiments against orcs, but has to balance that with having to work with this person as his partner. To actually further complicate that, they share a history whereby a suspect was being pursued by the both of them, and a mistake was made by his partner, which ended up in Will Smith being shot. And a lot of controversy is actually surrounding that incident that Will Smith constantly has to deal with in the present day in this film. So, Will Smith and his partner are in this investigation. Internal Affairs gets involved, whereby there is now an investigation open as to the circumstances that caused Will Smith to be shot while his partner was on duty. Obviously, because of the prejudice, the Internal Affairs is trying to direct the investigation towards his partner actually being prosecuted for it. We see a lot of character development between Will Smith's character and his partner, in that he goes from hating him to eventually accepting him and even actually respecting him. They also come across the character of Tika, who is an elf, who is known to be a bride. And brides are apparently a very special type of elves that can actually wield magic and use magic wands without being disintegrated. Because apparently that's what happens when a human being actually touches the wand. So she becomes an integral part of the story in terms of not only finding the wand but finding out what the story behind the wand is. And eventually we see that there's a lot of nefarious undertones that are involved here that the characters uncover as the story continues. And it's also a very interesting take as to how humanity would actually react with all these types of creatures or life forms being part of normal life as we know it today. Like what would life be like if fairies were around? What would life be like if there was like centaurs? We see fairies being treated very much like pests in this movie, in that they have to be killed like you would an insect that's bothering you in whatever reason. So now these fantastic, like I think it's a brilliant concept, but the execution maybe could have been done a lot better, because I think what the director was trying to go for was using these mythical creatures as metaphors for social segregation and oppression and things like that. And as a result, I think the main plot line sort of gets lost in all of those elements being mixed together in this one film, whose runtime is only 118 minutes. So we kind of lose track as to what's actually going on, but you kind of get what the director was trying to do. So that would be, I guess, the only criticism that I have of it. Otherwise, the action sequences were fantastic. The elves are represented to be what you would know them from Lord of the Rings. I mean, if you think of the character Legolas from the original trilogy, they're very agile. They're, above peak human condition in terms of strength, agility, and accuracy, and all that. They move very fast. And as a result of that, because they are now in the modern age, that's represented in awesome, well choreographed martial arts fight scenes, especially towards the end of the third act. That was so well handled. This was also a different experience in watching Will Smith act for me, because I saw him, I think, for the first time playing like, a really sort of alpha male asshole as well, and he was so racist towards his partner being an orc in the way that he treated him. I mean, one of the lines that stood out to me was when Nick is trying to make conversation with him in the car. I think they were just driving to work or something. And he mentioned how he looks like, he needs sex, basically. It's not the exact words he used, but he said that he looks like he's in need of some sort of physical contact with the opposite sex. And Will Smith asks him how he knows this. And he said, no, it's because of the face you're making. Human beings have certain tells that let you know what mind state or emotional state that they're currently in. So Will Smith rebuts by saying, okay, why don't you show me the face of someone who shuts the fuck up and says nothing and just drives to work? And, obviously he gets upset by that and he's like, yeah, that's the face I'm talking about. Do that one. Do that one. Yeah, you should do that one all the time. So it's a big departure from the roles that I normally see Will Smith play. But he played it well, as he always does. And as I said earlier, his character does eventually change the more time he spends with his partner and the situations that they find themselves in and having to help each other out of. So it was a great film. I'm not going to spoil too much of it, but I do recommend that you watch it. Now, as Nth-Level Entertainment as a channel runs basically on a shoestring budget, I always take the opportunity to actually thank those who contribute in whatever way to actually make this channel possible. So I'd like to give an honorable mention and a shout out to Daniel Barnes for giving me access to his Netflix account that enables me to actually watch and review all this type of media. And again, like I said before, I'd like to send a shout out to Abang Lizolo. You can follow him on Instagram as Chaos Prodigy. I'll link his page in the description below. So this film, the other thing that I'd just like to say about it is that as much as elves are actually depicted to sort of be the villains in this film, especially with regards to their connection to the magic wand that's been looked for. Um, um, Despite that, they did capture a very soft spot in my heart, in that one of the main henchmen drives a 2013 Subaru Impreza WRX, and the way that that car was utilized in the sequence that it shows up in the third act of this film was just mind-blowing and beautiful. And it's one of, like, it not only showcased, you know, how creative and awesome these elves are in, like, you know, fighting situations and how they use their environments to their advantage. It showcased the car's badassedness in a way that I've never seen before. Not even Fast and the Furious has managed to make a Subaru look as good as this film did. Baby Driver came close. Fast 5 came close, but nothing to what I saw here. So just based on that alone, I give this film 5 police centaurs out of 5. It was great. Look, story could have been executed a lot better, but it was definitely a fresh take in storytelling and filmmaking that I haven't seen before. Yeah, this was a great movie. I highly recommend it to anyone who hasn't seen it yet. And let me know what you thought of the film if you have seen it. Post your comments below, comment freely. Let me know what you think of the channel in general. And let me know what type of content you would like to see me review in future on this channel. And if you enjoyed this video, please click on the like button. If you'd like to see more from Nth-Level Entertainment, please click subscribe and be sure to click the bell icon so that you are notified each and every time we drop new content on the channel. Until next time, guys, stay awesome, stay positive, take care of each other, and to infinity and beyond.
Turn these zeros into tens and commas. Bitch, I'm ballin', closing $1 million deals. Catch me swerving, burning $100 bills.